Janine here from CraftFix. My free mini stocking pattern for straight needles is really quick and easy to knit. The sewing up is the fiddly bit, so here's how to seam your stocking for a neat finish. Fold your flat knitted piece in half to make a stocking shape. You need to seam up from the bottom, across the top of the foot and up the leg. First, we'll seam the bottom using mattress stitch, which is invisible. If you stretch your knitting, you'll see there are little bars, like a ladder, between each column of knitted V stitches. Mattress stitch works into these bars, one stitch in from each edge. Find your column of edge stitches, which curls to the back and looks a bit messy. Then gently stretch the edge and find the ladder of bars between your first and second stitch. Starting from the bottom gathered point, thread a needle with your long yarn tail. I'm just using contrast grey thread here instead, so you can see it clearly. Put your needle under the first bar on the left and pull it through. Next, find the first bar on the right side between the edge stitch and the next stitch column. Put your needle under the first bar on the right and pull it through. Leave your thread loose between the sides at first, as that makes it easier to see the first bars. Now go back to the left side and put your needle under the second bar and pull it through. Repeat on the right side. After a few stitches, pull the seam tight. If you're using cotton, like me, you may need to pull quite hard. As if by magic, the seam disappears. You can see a tiny bit of the grey contrast yarn here, but you will be using your matching yarn tail, so it will be invisible. It gets easier to see the ladder of bars once you're working up straight edges further up the foot. Keep going under the next bar on the left, then under the next bar on the right, pulling tight every so often until you reach the top. This gives you a lovely neat seam. If you've knit a striped stocking, you can also use the stripe colours as a guide to keep both sides even and get a lovely neat finish. Now it's time to seam across the top of the foot. We can't use mattress stitch for horizontal seams. Instead, we'll work under each stitch on both sides, looping the yarn over the top between them. Take your needle and go under the V of the first stitch on the left side and pull it through. Then take your thread over the top of the foot seam and go under the V of the first stitch on the other side. Pull the seam tight. Go under the second V stitch on the left side, pull through and tighten again. Loop the yarn over the top of the seam and go under the second stitch on the right side and pull tight. Start shaping the foot slightly if needed with your hand. Repeat for the other stitches across the top of the foot, pulling tight and shaping as you go. You end up with a nice stocking toe shape and can only slightly see my grey contrast yarn, so your matching yarn will be invisible. Seaming the top of the foot is the fiddly bit. Now it's back to mattress stitch for the leg. Pull your curled edge stitch column on each side and look for the ladder of bars between the first and second stitches. Put your needle under the bar on the left across from the top of the foot and pull through. Then do the same on the right side. Keep going under a bar on the left and right each time, just like you did at the bottom of the foot. Pull your seam tight every so often and keep going until you reach the start of the cuff. This makes a lovely invisible seam for your leg. If you did a purl cuff, you still use mattress stitch to seam it, just in a different way. Purl rows are made up of U shapes and N shapes, or smiles and frowns if you prefer. To get a neat join, we go under the U shapes on one side and the N shapes on the other. It doesn't matter which shape you pick on each side, just be consistent. You would of course use your matching yarn tail to seam the cuff, instead of the contrast grey thread I'm using here to demo. I've chosen to go under the N shapes on the right, so I'll go under the U shapes on the left. So you go under the first N-shaped stitch near the edge on the right with your needle and pull through. Next you go under the first U shape near the edge on the left to match. Then go back to the right side and, making sure you stay in the same column, go under the next N shape with your needle and go under the next U shape stitch on the left. After a few stitches, pull tight as usual. Keep going until the top of the cuff. Pull tight at the end and you'll see you have a pretty neat join. If you've knit a fluffy cuff instead, any old join will do, because all the fluff will hide it. It's impossible to see where stitches are, so just poke your needle through under a bit close to the left edge. Then find a bit you can go under near the right edge. Repeat a couple more times on each side to complete your fluffy cuff. I hope this video helps you make some cute mini stockings. Find this free pattern and a seamless knit in the round version on the Craft Fix blog. Happy knitting!